Hello there. Let's start a quiet exploration together. We're going to take a look at something a lot of us feel, but we don't really talk about it much. We're diving into the deep psychological reasons why some of us just genuinely love to stay home. If you've ever felt that secret wave of relief when plans get canceled, well, this is for you.
We all have that friend, right? Or maybe we are that friend. The one who's always a little too tired or gets a sudden headache, and it's so easy to think they're being flaky or maybe even a little antisocial. But what if that's not it at all? What if it's not about avoiding people, but about protecting something essential? That's really the core of what we're going to unpack today.
So let's begin this quiet observation. We're going to try to move past the simple labels, words like introverted or boring. Instead, we're going to look at what's really going on underneath. The reason why, for so many people, home just feels like a true sanctuary. It's a pattern of awareness that's definitely worth looking at.
I want you to think about your own personal energy, kind of like a phone battery. For a lot of people, social events, even the really fun ones, are slowly draining that battery. All the noise, the movement, the constant tiny adjustments you make in a social space, it all costs something. And for them, home becomes the only charging station that really, truly works. It's the one place where the whole system can finally power down and actually replenish.
Okay, so why is this charging process so different for different people? It's not really a choice, and it's definitely not some kind of flaw. It seems to be something fundamental in our wiring, almost like an inner thermostat that's set differently for each of us. Let's look at a psychological theory that helps explain this a little better.
Now, the most important thing to get here is that this isn't about being antisocial. It's really about how your nervous system is calibrated. Optimal arousal theory basically says we all have a different starting point. For some people, it takes very little stimulation from the outside world, one deep conversation or a crowded room to hit their limit, to feel overwhelmed. It's not about laziness, it's literally about neurology.
So you can see how this sets up two totally different operating systems. For someone who needs a lot of stimulation, the world itself, the noise, the people is the charger. But for someone with a low stimulation need, the charger is found inside. It's in the quiet, in solitude, in the simple absence of outside demands. And look, one isn't better than the other. They are just two different ways of being in the world.
This whole idea of energy management, it actually builds into something even deeper. Home isn't just a charging station, it's a sanctuary, a place that acts as a really powerful psychological boundary. It becomes a space of control.
Let's face it, the outside world can feel chaotic. It's unpredictable. You can't control the loud music in a cafe, the sudden shifts in conversation, or the constant demands on your attention. But at home, you are the one in control. You control the lighting, the sounds, the whole vibe. And for someone who's highly sensitive or deals with anxiety, that sense of control isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely essential. It's a necessary boundary against a world that can feel like it's just too much. And this brings us to what actually happens in that quiet space, the fruits of solitude. See, staying home is not about doing nothing, not at all. In fact, this is often where the most important internal work gets done. When you don't have all those distractions from the outside world, your mind is free to make new connections, to reflect on things deeply, and to solve problems. Let's be honest, our best ideas rarely show up in a crowded bar. They tend to emerge from the quiet.
But, and this is important, we have to pause here and draw a really crucial distinction, because there is a shadow side to this. There's a point where that sanctuary can start to feel a little bit more like a cage.
This is the question we have to ask ourselves with complete honesty. Is the time we spend at home a conscious choice for restoration, or is it a subconscious way to avoid something that's still unresolved?
Let's just break down the difference here. When your home is a sanctuary, choosing to stay in actually fills you up. The motivation is a conscious one, and it comes from knowing what you need. But when it's become a cage, the idea of leaving just feels heavy. The motivation isn't a choice anymore, it's fear, it's avoidance. And that often comes from unaddressed anxiety or maybe even past trauma. One is about finding peace, the other is about hiding.
So, now that we've made that really important distinction, let's go back to the person who consciously and healthfully chooses solitude. Society can misunderstand this choice, right? But it's not a failure to be social. It's simply a preference for a different quality of experience altogether.
I want you to just let that sink in for a moment. If you're someone who finds real, true contentment in the small things, that first cup of coffee, the way the light hits a room in the afternoon, you are not missing out on anything.
You're just living a life that's aligned with your own nervous system. It's a preference for depth over noise, for peace over performance.
And so we'll end with this question. It's not for a quick answer, it's really just for you to think about. Does your solitude replenish you, or does it simply protect you from something that might be unhealed? Understanding your own answer to that, that's the key to making sure your home always remains a true sanctuary.
Thank you so much for joining me in this exploration. If this reflection felt valuable to you, we'd love for you to continue the journey with us.